Chapter 21. The Rescue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The world around me was nothing but a smoke-filled haze as my life force burned away to counter the extreme danger I was in. What is this power? You are only a youngling, you should not have this power. Leave this place, you nuisance, but be warned, when I find you next I will be at full strength with an army of destruction at my call. I heard this roar into my mind as a blast of spatial energy slams into me. With a flash of void and darkness I blink and see that I am now back at the camp. I look around in confusion to see the other apprentices just stare at me in surprise. Lizaria was the first to get up and run towards me. Vexus, are you okay? You ran off so suddenly, and then shortly after Master ran after you. We heard a loud explosion, and then next second you appear as a tear in space happens. Where is Master? I was trapped by some monster that wanted to study me, and it put up some kind of spatial barrier where only he had the power. Master's voice went off in my head saying that he was trying to rescue me, but that I was in the presence of one of the original Shadow Eaters. It knew that Master was there trying to help me and almost killed me with some kind of pressure, but I was able to use some kind of skill that I guess scared it, and it sent me here using some kind of space spell. I don't know if Master is still there or not, but whatever that thing was, I do not want to meet it again. They just stared at me, mentally debating to believe me or not. That was until a loud boom goes off in the distance, and from the direction I went, a huge cloud of dust swept over us as well as a massive wind wall that sent us flying back. After we got up and got our bearings, we could see flames and smoke rising from far away. We all look at each other, and with a unanimous nod we start heading in that direction looking for our master. Only to see a ball of flame come hurtling over our heads and slam down, creating a huge impact crater. We go to examine it and find Master Lucan limply stumbling out of the crater. We have to leave now. I injured that monster, which only pissed it off. We have to go, Vexus, since you bit off a chunk of Stony and gained a new leg. You are in charge of carrying me while we evacuate. Sparing no time, I have Desmoros lift Master onto my back and running as fast as we can. Considering Stony's injury, we get as far away as possible from that area while loud roars and explosions blanket the area behind us. We run for what feels like hours. Surprisingly, my body was able to withstand this amount of strenuous exercise way easier than before. Having no time to contemplate, I just chalk it up to my transformation. We get to a cave with no signs of activity around the entrance, and after setting down Master with Lizaria looking after him, me and Desmoros take a look inside the cave to make sure it was safe. Listen, Vexus, what happened back there? I'm sorry, but my cousin is top priority. I consider her a sister. My auntie and mother gave me the job of protecting her, and I will not fail. My father and her father left to continue their adventure, but I believe that one day they will come back for us and take us on their adventures with them. I understand, Desmoros, I do. I just need to have someone who can watch my back while I figure out this whole mess. Especially now that my sin is activating on its own, I need to understand how it activates and what I can do to keep it under control. I promise that if I can help it, I will not put her in danger. You have my word. After our little heart-to-heart, we finish up securing the cave, and besides a small hole in the very back to that appears as though it was made in case of a cave-in as an air hole, it was otherwise safe, so we bring Master in and set him up against the side. I turn to Lizaria. Lizaria, please keep looking after him. I will go grab some firewood and hopefully some food for us. Desmoros, you're on guard duty, but first, Stony, do you have any kind of earth sensibility? He looks at me still with anger, but after a few seconds I can see his mind is working and he eventually answers. Yes, I do. It's limited to only a few dozen feet around me, but I am still training it. Great, once I leave, consider this a great training opportunity for that skill, because I want you to be on constant alert and help prepare in case something tries to claim this cave or get an easy meal out of our master. After they agreed, I left, and using detection I was able to spot a few rabbits within only a few meters in the trunk of a tree. I sneak up to the tree and with a slow exhale I unleash my rolling fog. Shortly after I can hear small hacks and coughs before silence. Then I just had to dig a little bit and revealed 4 rabbits, each with a different color. I bring them out and set them to the side, then turn back to the tree. I figure next best way to get firewood instead of searching would be to just blow up a tree and pick up what's left. I use my smoke blast ability and blast apart a good part of the tree's trunk, then after picking up the rabbits I go back to cave, drop them off, and then go back for the pieces of firewood. I take the firewood back and ask Lizaria to help start the fire. I notice as she conjures a small flame that her mana flickered. Lizaria, have you rested since we got here? I only ask because I can feel your mana flickering. I'm fine, I promise, but Master Lucan still needs help, and without saying anything else she turns back to Master and focuses another healing spell. Desmoroz stares at me with sympathy in his eyes because he knows how stubborn she can be. Okay, fine, I understand, but you need to rest, cousin. No, Desmoroz, he needs help and I am the only one here who even has the basics of healing spells. I look between the two and then a brilliant idea popped into my head. I had this idea for a skill a while back when I was practicing magic, but considering I had no one to really try it out on back home, I decided to try it here with Ms. Stubborn. Lizaria, look, I get it, you want to help as much as you can, but if you're running yourself ragged without resting then you won't be able to help anybody. I do have an idea though, but I ask that if something happens that you don't blame me, okay? I just want to help you, that's all. She has a look of doubt on her face, but after a short look down at Master, who was still in rough shape even after her many attempts at healing, she turns and nods to me. I'll agree, I know that you wouldn't intentionally hurt me. With her approval I feel like I'm back on track to gaining their trust. I walk up to her and place my forehead against her back. Vexus, your scales are cold. Whoops, sorry, not really anything I can do about that though, I'll just be careful next time if this works. I caught sight of Desmoroz giving me the stink eye from the corner of my vision after I said this. BDNVL.M. After I focus on the task at hand, I'm distracted again by how warm her skin is against my scales, and her smell filled my nose, almost becoming intoxicating, but I quickly shook my head from the distractions, and focusing even harder on the task at hand, I imagine the mana funnel from my body into hers. After a little bit I slump to the ground as a gasp leaves her lips. Conditions have been met. The skill MP share has been granted. Vexus, what did you do? I feel like I was renewed with energy. Oh, nothing much, just discovered a new skill, that's all. But on a completely unrelated note, can I bother you for some food? It seems my body has run out of energy and refuses to listen to me. She chuckles, which makes my chest flutter for a quick second. Yes, I will get you some food, it's the least I can do. With a smile that could unthaw the coldest of glaciers, she gets up and walks over to the fire that Desmoroz took charge of and picked up one of the cooked rabbits that was covered in green fur but now only had burnt and charred fur. She placed it in front of my face. Here, and I promise after I help Master Lucan a little more I will lay down and rest for a little bit. I nod and start to eat the rabbit, even crunching the bones and choking back what fur was left just to be sure I didn't miss a chance at a skill. Before long I got the sound I was expecting as a ding goes off and I open up my menu. Earthen rabbit devoured. Auto-assimilation complete. Auto-assimilation, I thought that happened only because I was out of control. Does that mean that from now on my body will just assimilate without me agreeing? Granted, I would never refuse to assimilate as that is the path to power, but still to have that option taken away is a little disconcerting. Skill list generated, Stone Bullet. After applying a little magic to a normal-looking stone, the user is able to use the stone as a high-velocity projectile to deal ranged damage. Burrow. Using the caster's naturally hardened claws, able to dig into the earth to hide or create a temporary home. At later levels increases what can be dug through. Quick Step. Using the caster's compressed muscles, allows for a fast step in any direction. I was definitely confused as I was given choices instead of just acquiring all of the skills. I ate the heart, the brain, the fur, even the bones. It made no sense that I was only given these small few choices on top of me being forced to choose at all, so I did what I considered a little weird. I asked a question to the system itself. System, I don't know if you can answer me, but why is it when I ate the wolf's heart I transformed and was given all of the skills, but after eating this whole rabbit I was only given the choice between 3 skills, as well as staying the same? System query has been heard, will now search database for suitable answer. Holy shit, it worked, so now I just have to wait, but thankfully I didn't have to wait long. Answer found. User was on the cusp of dying. System override was initiated to increase survivability of host. Wait, does that mean that this system is a parasite? Using the term host is indicative of being considered a parasite, but it has given me so many things, so maybe in return for giving the system something I am granted all of this. The questions just continue to rack up in my brain, but I went ahead and chose quick step to augment my shadow strike ability, but shortly after I was pleasantly surprised as a small gasp and a cough came from Master Lucan against the wall. Ugh, now that sucked. I haven't used that move since I fought the last space dragon. We all looked over with joy as our master woke up. But something in me was a bit disturbed by what he said just now. Master, thank God you're finally awake. We were able to make it to a cave. With Vex's help we were able to get some food and start a fire. Lizaria, being the closest, started to say. Then Stony came up beside her. Yes, Master, it seems that even though me and Vexus have some bad blood, he didn't think twice before going and doing what he could to help us. It will take a little bit of time, but I feel like he is someone I can put my life on the line for. Detection. 30% rolling fog, 4 out of 10. May 10th smoke blast, May 10th. 6/10 new MP share LVL 00/10. User sacrifices MP to refill others. For every 10 used, able to give others 1. Quick step LVL 00/10. Using the caster's compressed muscles, allows for a fast step in any direction. Chapter 22. Gaining trust. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Master Lucan was able to stand up on after a bit of focusing, then a loud growl went through the cave, but this was not a huge monster, instead this was our master's very own stomach. Huh, it appears my body is in need of food. It looks like that quick bout used up more energy than I'm used to. Vexus, why don't you go scout around for a bit while I sit here and rest? Oh, and if you can find me a big meal, that would be much appreciated. Yes, Master, give me a few moments, regain some energy, and I will set out. Not wanting to disappoint him so soon after he woke up, I decided it would be best to just suck it up, and with what little energy I have left to go, and hopefully if I ration my mana usage I can pull off an easy meal. Master, Vexus had used up quite a bit of energy while you were knocked out. He went and got us food, and when he noticed my magic bottoming out, he even gained a skill that sacrificed his mana in return for restoring mine. Which in turn gave me the chance to keep healing you. Can you please give him a break? I'm sure Desmoros or even Stony giving a bit of time combined with my healing would be more than happy to go. Lizaria protested on my behalf, which I was grateful for. No, this is his task I have given him. If he cannot push through this small limit that he has placed upon himself, then he will lose his place as my disciple. Master spoke with absolute authority. The others were a mix of disappointment and happiness, but I knew that it was going to be me to leave, as he is still unsure of how safe it is to be around me. I totally get it. If I were anybody else I would be questioning how safe it was myself. Lizaria, listen, Master wants me to go scout because he is unsure of how dangerous I can be, and he needs to gather his strength in case I lose myself again. It would be better if I lost control out in the wilderness than in here with you all. I understand, and I promised your cousin that I would do whatever it took to keep you safe, especially from myself. With that said, I got up and walked out of the cave. I could hear Lizaria speak again, but my mind was already lost to the doubts in my head as I tried to focus on the task I was given. What if I lose control again? Would I be able to rein myself in, or would I be a walking disaster until I was beaten again by somebody? Questions like this plagued my mind over and over again as I relied on detection to keep an eye out for any incoming threats. I found myself resting in a large clearing, just staring up into the sky. Two beautiful full moons almost seemed to dance around each other in a synchronized pattern that bordered on majestic. The more I watched, the more I seemed to become entranced, and thoughts of my life in the old world started to resurface. The day I got my first car, or my first job, some of the days I spent with my childhood friends. Better yet, I remembered the day my son was born, and how happy I was. The day I got married to my wife was another cherished memory. All those memories swam through my head before the memories of this life seemed to overlap and replace. My birth, my inevitable acceptance of being the weakest, all of the hardships I have overcome and the hardships I created in return. I thought of it all until I started to smile as the thoughts of the past few days came to mind. I could say that traveling even the comparably small distance between my home to the village of my elder and uncle was by far the best, and then my new companions were now new cherished memories. Granted we are new to each other, but I felt at home with them like this was a place I belonged for the time being. I was lost to the world while the mix of sadness and happiness interchanged with the memories that came to mind. But I was brought back to reality as a loud crash came from the nearby woodlands and the form of a small, agile dragon darted around and seemed to be fighting some sort of wolf. I could not see clearly and had long run dry of mana. Eyesight was my only reliable means of detection at the moment, but due to the night it was hazy details at best. I could see small flashes of magic, then a coolness would wash over me. At other times it felt almost like a blizzard would assault me. After focusing and regaining enough to cast detection, I was able to see a green-scaled dragon darting between the trees while casting water and ice magic. But the thing that was weird was that this dragon was oddly familiar. Then it clicked, was this Mariko? Why was she here? Am I near home? Not having any doubts and actually instead having confidence in myself, I run towards the supposed Mariko and her opponent. Without hesitation I yelled. Mariko, is that you? It's me, Vexus. The wolf turned towards me and with a snarl launched itself at me with extreme speeds. Luckily I was able to see just enough to dodge as a swipe with a green glowing aura around the claws pass a hair away from my nose. Listen wolf, I have had a rough day. Please, if you can understand me, just walk away. The wolf only smiles. Why Vexus, why would I run away from my elder brother? Its body then starts to crack and bones audibly break as the wolf transforms into a green dragon with wisps of air roiling around its body as it stares at me. Elder brother Vexus, how nice of you to drop by after running away to supposedly train. This dragon's voice oozed with sarcasm and you could just feel the aura of a slimy, slippery, snake roll from it. There was only one that would talk to me like this. Salus, of course you have found a way to change your form. It seems so fitting for a conniving, mischievous, cretin like yourself to have gained the power to change others' perception of you. He seemed to become enraged at my words before feigning a smile. Please brother, don't be so harsh, I was just lucky with the wheel of fate, that is all. Besides, our brother Orim was even luckier as he had awakened to the power of the sin of pride, which, as you should have learned by now, is our family's namesake. Well, please pass along my congratulations on his continued power trip. Oh, I mean power gain. That's what I meant, but besides you, I originally came over to talk to Mariko, so why don't you turn into a snake that we all know you to be and slither off into the night? A gust of wind formed above me. Do not speak to me as if you are above me. You are a worm compared to the power I now wield. In rage he sends the gust of wind that is slowly rotating until a small tornado forms straight towards me. I use my new skill Quick Step and appear a few meters in front of him, dodging the attack completely, and with shock becoming clear on his face I prepare to send a smoke blast directly into his face. But instead I am slammed in the side by a large icicle. You do not touch Salus, he is the second strongest of our siblings. Mariko screams as she prepares to shoot another oversized icicle at me. Mariko, listen to me, I do not want to fight you, please do not do this. She only shakes her head at my words and shoots another one as Salus stands off to the side with a wide grin on his face. I see his body twist and turn into a wolf and run off into the woods after shouting. Keep him occupied, Mariko, I will go get help. It appears our dear older brother has ill intent towards us. Ha 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 ha, I shiver as his laughter fades into the night around us. I can only do so much with what little energy I have. I did not plan on having a fight with anybody, let alone my siblings, but fortunately it appears as though they were out here training us well, as I can see Mariko huff with each movement, and I can see the strain she is putting herself in trying to damage me with fatal intentions behind each attack. Mariko, please just listen to me. I did not want this to happen. I was just coming to talk, I swear. I do not care for your words, little worm. Now shut up and just die so that my true elder brother can gain what is rightfully his place. Fine, just remember you asked for this. Not caring any longer as she refused to even give any thought to stopping, I decide to test out a new idea I had when I gave Lazaria my magic. I quick step towards Mariko and end up in her face. I grab a hold of her body and imagine my body sucking in all of her energy, all of her magic, everything. Before long I heard screams echo in my ear as Mariko writhes in pain as my body visibly starts to glow, starting from the legs attached to her, then slowly filling up to my body. Her green scales start to lose its luster and slowly dull until they are nothing more than green-tinged rocks. Her screams die out as her voice becomes hoarse. I let go with sadness in my eyes. Mariko, I warned you not to continue. You will not die, but instead I will use you as a warning to the others. I am not the weak little Vexus anymore. If need be, I will consume you and your powers to become the strongest. I hope you make the right choice next time we meet. I then use my new energy to dash into the woods towards my camp. Along the way I spot a boar-like creature and with a thought I shoot out an icicle and impale its head, killing it instantly. I rejoice, but only for a little bit, as the thought at the sacrifice that was made to give me this power. BDNVLDM I come upon the cave with the boar dragging behind me, and as I enter the cave I slump down as the adrenaline and the newfound energy leave my body in a visible wisp of blue energy escaping back out the way I came. Master, I say in a rough voice. Master, I have come back bringing food. I ran into my siblings. I will explain, but for now my body is in need of rest. As I utter the last word my eyes start to close as the darkness engulfs my sight, and I fall into a dreamless slumber. Lucan POV, this boy will either be the destruction of our world besides the Shadow Eaters, or become our greatest savior. This thought races through my mind as I can see the visible energy leave his body as he throws the body of a raging tusk boar at my feet, then proceeds to pass out. I look at my other disciples and notice that the two cousins have a look of admiration, while Stony has a look of fear on his face. Stony, I can see that you are afraid of Vexus. I think I understand where your concern lies, but please can you enlighten me? The young dragon slowly looks between me and Vexus. Master, I can barely comprehend what I just saw. First he does all he can to help us out with food and securing of this cave, then he goes out and not only gathers food but he also gathers firewood. Then he even develops a new skill almost as if he was breathing and then restores Lazaria's magic. He even accurately figured out why you singled him out to go scout, and he did so willingly. He comes back with a raging tusk boar that was reported to be at least a rank 3 monster, and with a headshot no less, using what I can only assume is ice magic. Sir, there are many things to be scared of, but what scares me the most is how far his potential can take him. Detection 30. 37% quick step. 0. 2 out of 10 new life steal LVL 0 out of 10. The user is able to siphon the life force of his enemies. Early levels require physical contact. New ice magic comprehension 10%. User has gained understanding of ice magic. Mana absorption. Max. New mana assimilation LVL 00/10. The user is now able to assimilate with the natural mana of the world to grow stronger. The higher the stat, the higher the requirement to gain stat point. Mana manipulation LVL 2. 0. 15/30 ice resistance 0. 20%. Chapter 23. Time to just relax. Maybe. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I wake up from a dead sleep covered in the fur of some boar-like creature. Oh yeah, I remember, I had used a new skill to temporarily absorb Mariko's energy, and then while running back to camp I found and insta-killed a boar for master. Looking up I could see that the others were still asleep except for Desmoros, who was watching the cave entrance. I get up with an audible groan as soreness racked my body. He turns around with surprise on his face, then with a concerned look he says, Man, you shouldn't even be awake right now. After you passed out, Master told us he could tell you had used up all of your energy and even the energy of another to get back to us. You are insane, Vexus. I've heard of using others' life and soul to strengthen yourself, but to use it just to run a little faster for a short time, and even when your own power was weakened to such an extent. That's just unheard of. Yeah, I hear ya. Trust me, if I had my say in the matter I would be, but my body is screaming for food. As if it was summoned by my words, a loud growl emanated from my stomach to confirm my words. Desmorose chuckles. Yeah, we had a feeling this might happen, and since we don't want a repeat of the last time you were hungry, I went ahead and hunted a little bit before the others went to sleep. Here is a pile of some rabbits and even a big piece of the boar from last night, which by the way you're gonna have to fill me in on how you managed to kill a rank 3 monster. Rank 3? What do you mean? I just shot it in the head with an icicle while I was running back. But thanks, I'll eat it all, ha ha ha. Come to find out, I can eat way more than my body suggests. It's almost like I have an void for a stomach sometimes. Ding, hidden skill. Abyssal stomach has been revealed. Are you kidding me, system? You mean I have hidden skills that I don't know about? Just great. What next? You mean to tell me can open my stomach open like some sort of scientifically created humanoid and swallow things into another dimension? Ding, hidden skill. Abyssal consumption has been revealed. System, you are killing me here. Did you originate in this world or my old one? After the little surprise my system gave me, I went over to the pile of meat and dug in. I didn't hold back and ate everything, as it would be easier for me to just go hunting for the others later on. Thankfully I wasn't starving, so I was able to keep in control. I could tell I was on the brink as the first bite weakened my consciousness. However, using mental fortitude, I was able to keep calm enough to not look like a ravenous monster. Well, after I look up and see the look on Desmoro's face, I can assume that I only thought that. Dude, are you okay? Your sin must be overwhelming if it can cause you to lose your composure like that. I mean, I've never seen carnage like that before. Yeah, I'm fine, just still having to get used this insane hunger sometimes. Great, just another thing to worry about, but I guess if this is a condition of my power, I'll just have to grin and bear it. After I finish eating, I say goodbye to Desmoro's and tell him to let the others know I'm going hunting for a bit. He looked concerned, considering not even 5 minutes ago I was groaning from soreness. But nevertheless he agreed and went back to focusing on guard duty. I of course was going to do some hunting, but first I had to get away and go through my stats. It had been a while and I was excited to see what new things I had acquired. I reached a tree that overlooked the clearing from before. I knew it could be a potentially bad idea if they caught me here, but if I was close to home it would be nice to see Mom or Dad or Gaia again. I opened my menu and was shocked that I had gotten an auto-assimilation from the food I ate. I swore I didn't hear a ding or notification pop up. Flesh of the raging tusk boar consume. Auto-assimilation commencing. Skill list generating, wrathful charge. User charges the enemy with nothing but pure malice and the urge to kill whatever is in its way. Unyielding vitality. The user gains immunity from damage after receiving a fatal blow. I chose the unyielding vitality just because it sounds like a great fallback should things get out of control and I face something I couldn't handle. Only 2 skills this time. I'm still unsure of the requirements the system uses to determine the skill choices. I say out loud for nobody but the woods to hear and to stop the silence that was unnerving me. Now that I paid attention a little bit, I could tell that there were actually no sounds except the wind. No insects, no birds, no forest animals, nothing. Only the wind. Oh shit, I dropped to the ground as a wind blade passes just centimeters above my head. Damn it, you little bastard, think you can hurt my sister and get away with it. I look up to see Salis, and I smiled as I was thinking of getting some wind magic. But then I frowned as 3 figures walked out of the woods. So Runt been a little bit, hasn't it? I see you gained some skills, but as you can see, so have I. There stood Orem, but instead of bright and shining golden red scale-covered body, his scales were tinted with a blackness that oozed strength, and a red outlining of the scales gave him an even bigger fear factor. But what shocked me, and heard a part of me was that standing next to him was Gaia. With Mariko strapped to his back by vines that writhed around like they had a mind of their own. Regaining my composure, I hid away my fears that Gaia had turned on me and instead hoped that this was some sort of undercover thing he was doing. "Ah, Orym, I see your scales have changed to match your soul. Very nice. I especially like the black and red theme you have going. Very scary, but Gaia, what are you doing with these guys? Shouldn't you be training to join me when I return after my training with Master?" Gaia puffs his chest out and with a snort he looks down on me. "Vexus, I was a fool to have followed you for the short time you were here. I have been turned onto the right path by Salus and Orym and have been told of how manipulative you were. To think that until yesterday I was happy to hear that you had grown so strong, but then to be told that you attacked poor defenseless Mariko and even go so far as to steal her power while she begged for her life. You are not my brother anymore, Vexus, you are just another enemy to us." He turns and leaves without another word. "I see, so that's how it is. You guys told him lies to get him onto your side. You guys are very sneaky, but my question is, who did it? Was it you, Orym, who decided to have Gaia betray his trust in me? Or was it you, Salus, who decided to snake his way into Gaia's mind and convince him I would attack Mariko without provocation?" They both look at me, but I can see that Orym has a look of doubt in his eyes, while Salus has a look of hatred and jealousy in his. "I wasn't the one, Vexus, Salus did it without talking to me. But nevertheless you attacked Mariko and stole her power. This I cannot allow as the oldest and strongest." Orym says this and I can see the look on Salus' face get even more foul, as his plan is advancing so flawlessly. "Yes, elder brother Orym, this worm had the audacity to harm little Mariko. As her elder brother it is your duty to protect her and avenge her if necessary." After hearing this I couldn't hold it in any longer as I start to laugh uncontrollably. "Ha ha ha, good gods above, do you really believe this, Orym? Listen, I know you and me do not see eye to eye, especially because of how big you are, but let me fill you in on something. Salus and Mariko were out here training last night, except Salus was in the form of a wolf. I was excited to see a member of my family, even if it was someone who did not want anything to do with me. I still rushed over and let her know I was there. Then the supposed wolf attacked me and then turned into his normal form. Then when I tried to attack him back, Mariko sent me hurtling with a huge icicle and little Salus ran away in wolf form again. I asked Mariko to please stop as I just wanted to talk to her, but in the end she wouldn't even listen to a word I said, so using a new idea for a skill I had, I sucked out her power and used it to escape back to my camp. I left her alive because I wanted that to be a warning for him. I see now that it backfired as he turned the situation around and instead turned the one brother I liked against me." Orym seemed a little confused after hearing me explain what happened, but then shook his head before turning around. He looked over his shoulders at me one more time. "Vexus, Mom and Dad want to see you, but I suggest you only come back when you're ready to face me." He walks into the forest while Salus stands there with disappointment on his face. "Vexus, I wanted Orym to kill you here and now, but it looks like that won't happen today, but rest assured it will eventually, and when it does I will be there to laugh over your dying body and then take your power for my own. Because you see, little worm, I awakened my sin. Oswell, can you guess what mine is?" He said this with an ever-widening grin. "My sin is envy, and with it I will absorb your power and gain the sin of gluttony and propel myself into the legends amongst dragons and rule the world." Before I could say anything a strange mist appeared around him and covered my vision. This was different from my smoke. Shortly after it appeared it dissipated, and with it Salus. Great, I have a brother who doesn't trust me anymore, a brother who wants to take my place as the eldest, which I'll be damned if that happens, and finally a brother who is so crazy he plans on absorbing my sin to start conquering the world. Just great. This isn't what I wanted to happen today. Hidden skill. Abyssal stomach. Able to consume vast amounts of materials for use as sustenance. Hidden skill. Abyssal consumption. User will attack and devour enemy using gateway that is directly connected to an alternate dimension created within user's stomach. Unyielding vitality. The user gains immunity from damage after receiving a fatal blow. Chapter 24. Quest completed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I stood there in confusion for a little bit longer to digest and comprehend just what happened. My brother hates me now for something that technically I did do, but she wasn't defenseless. As a matter of fact, if I was still as weak as I used to be, I would have died. Then Orem hates me as always, but it seems like in my absence he gained a cooler head. I could work with that. Maybe instead killing one another we could have a friendly scrap, then be on at least a neutral basis. As I think of this, I remember my true purpose for coming out this way, and I hurry and open up my stat screen. Vexus Variant Dragon. Smoke/Space STR 3 Vit 8.5 SPD 10 Dex 1 Con 3.5 Int 1 Health 400 MP 30, Stamina 420 Mental Fortitude Max. Able to withstand mental attacks and lowers chances of mind. Distorting effects. Pain Tolerance Max. Able to withstand physical pain easier. Shadow Strike 4 out of 10. Strike from an opponent's blind spot to deal increased damage. Heat Resistance 30%. Able to withstand higher temperatures. Smoke Breath LVL 1 and 1/20. Using your dragon body's natural ability, able to produce a smoke breath capable of causing obscured vision over an area and small amounts of damage upon being inhaled. Smoke Stream LVL 0 3/10. Using knowledge of another world, able to create a concentrated stream of smoke capable of causing blindness and causing small amounts of damage upon being inhaled. Smoke Blast LVL 0 June 10. By holding in a breath attack and allowing buildup, able to unleash a highly concentrated blast of smoke capable of causing large amounts of damage and ensuring blindness as well as lasting effects. Rolling Fog LVL 0 May 10. Using slow breaths of smoke, able to create a slow fog to cover the ground. Mana Manipulation LVL 215/30. Using the energy of the universe, able to create natural and unnatural phenomena. Mana Absorption Max. While concentrating, able to absorb the ambient mana around the user to restore MP. Mana Assimilation LVL 00/10. The user is now able to assimilate with the natural mana of the world to grow stronger. The higher the stat, the higher the requirement to gain stat point. Mana Storage LVL 1/30. Able to store excess mana for use in emergencies. Spatial Bullet LVL 0.5. Shoot a bullet using space mana to create a distortion in space. Devour LVL 0.5. Consume flesh and energy of living and non-living things, can store genetic material for healing or for body improvement. Assimilation LVL 0.4. Using the genetic material from consumed flesh and energy, able to strengthen the user's body in different ways depending on what has been consumed. Chimera LVL 00/10. Consuming enough of a species will grant the user the ability to partially morph and exhibit parts of the species devoured. Later levels allow for more species to be used. Rage LVL 10 out of 10. Focusing only on the anger within, increase STR and SPD but lower all defenses. Ice Resistance 20%. Capable of handling extremely low temperatures. Detection 37%. By manipulation of the ambient mana, the user is able to create a circle of awareness using the caster as the center. Hardened Scales LVL 00/10. Increase in natural thickness in scales leading to a rise in defense. Vitality of the Boar LVL 00/10. Assimilation of a magical boar species will grant a significant increase in user's well-being. Light Magic Comprehension 15%. User has comprehended a small part of the use of the element of light. 100% will grant full unlock of light magic. Ice Magic Comprehension 10%. User has gained understanding of ice magic. Lightning Resistance 0%. Able to withstand lightning elemental attacks. Lightning Muscles 2 out of 10. Using small bursts of electric, the user is capable of enhancing muscle power by a percentage based on skill level. Alert skill will cause debuff upon ending. Pack mentality, 0%. The user will connect with others they trust to form a strong bond that increases teamwork as well as small buff to stats dependent on skill level. Static hide, 0 out of 10. The user will now emit small bursts of static electricity over their bodies to provide defensive properties. Sealed skill. Life burn. 0 out of 10. User sacrifices lifespan to greatly increase power to phenomenal levels potentially rivaling the gods themselves. MP share, LVL 00/10. User sacrifices MP to refill others. For every 10 used, able to give others 1. Quick step, LVL 02 out of 10. Using the caster's compressed muscles, allows for a fast step in any direction. Life steal, LVL 00 out of 10. The user is able to siphon the life force of his enemies. Early levels require physical contact. Chance of absorbing life force equaling permanent stat boosts. Unyielding vitality. The user gains immunity for 5 seconds after receiving a fatal blow. I also got a nice surprise when I opened it as a notification that a quest had been completed. Quest, kill and devour 5 monsters, has been completed. User will gain audience with ancestors shortly. Crap, okay, so this is going to be another forced meeting before I get sucked away. I had better get back to the cave. Using my lightning muscle skill I jolt back to the cave. I enter quickly, which startled the others, but I immediately speak up. Listen, the original sin is going to call my consciousness away, so I hurried to get back here. I will answer any question after I return. I do not know how long it'll take. Please watch over my body. At that moment they all had slack jaws, but a ding went off in my head as my sight dimmed and my body crashed onto the floor. My spiritual body was then in front of a huge green gas. Except this time it had more of a humanoid shape. Welcome back, little one, I see you finally completed my quest. To be more accurate, you had completed this quest some time ago, but I had other matters that was in need of my direct attention. I bow slightly before speaking. No problem, ancestor, I am grateful you took the time to see me. To be honest, this is a bit unexpected, and if I had not rushed back to my comrades in time, my physical body would have been left in the middle of a forest. The gas tilts its head to the side in what seemed like a thinking pose. It then raised a hand and floated it close to my body. Here, this is a communication sigil. It will help us communicate better in the future. I was not thinking about your physical body being in danger. Its hand touches me and a sigil burns its appearance onto my head right about my left ear area. Back to the reason I called you here. I have decided to send you another test. Things with the other sins have heated up recently. Not only has pride awakened one of her chosen, but so has envy. Honestly, I can handle dealing with pride. She is conceited, yes, but in the end she has a calm, calculated mind. Envy, however, just wants everything that he thinks he deserves over others. Even his cousin Greed is not so bad, he at least can be bribed to leave me alone. As my sin kept talking, it seemed like he was just ranting instead of really talking to me. I especially was shocked that Pride was a woman instead of a man like most people would think back in the old world, but to think that not only are the sins more personified in this world, they in fact are family. Does that mean that my sin is related to the others? Sir, if I may interrupt for a moment, you said that envy and greed were cousins. Does that mean that you and the other sins are family? It stops, and with what I assume shock spread across its face. Little one, please forget I ever said anything like that. It is not for a mortal such as yourself to know. Damn it, if the others knew I messed up like this, they would take away what little power I have left. Little one, it's time you go back. I have said way too much already, and please keep this a secret. Then with a wave of its hand I feel my spiritual body rush back and crash into my physical one. I get up with a massive headache sending huge pulses rocking my head. I hate it when it does that. I always get such a huge headache afterwards. Can someone please get me some water? With crickets being my only reply, I slowly open my eyes to see that I am the only one in the cave. The hell? Where is everyone? At that moment I hear a loud crash and a pained roar come from outside, then it hits me. Shit, Ancestor said that it would be sending me a test, I just didn't think that it would be while I was still unconscious. I race out of the cave in time to see a fireball whiz past my head and explode into the body of a big feline-like creature. Looking from where it came from, I could see Lizaria being guarded by a wounded Desmorose and Stony, who was bleeding from a huge gash along his side. Lizaria must have been healing them when the feline creature attacked them. Vexus, glad you're awake. Now get over here and help. Desmorose gives me a quick glance before jerking back to stare down a new feline that had stopped moving towards them. I race over and giving a quick glance around, I can tell that the fight had been going on for a few minutes at least. I could see trees on fire, some covered with frost and others melting in a pool of acid. Looking to Lizaria healing Stony, I shuddered as I saw Stony's insides for a brief moment before his flesh mended together. Okay, fill me in, Lizaria, what happened here? Where is Master? She quickly looks over at me, then retrains her focus on healing. Master is away fighting the king of these killer panthers. He rushed away after wounding it and killing several of the smaller ones, which led to the king chasing it. I am thankful because there was no way we could have faced it ourselves. We are having trouble holding out with just the basic ones. She finishes speaking just in time for a panther to leap off of a tree behind us and pin me to the ground. It sinks its teeth into my belly and starts to drag me away. I however had another idea, as this was a new monster for my growing hunger to enjoy. I use my vitality of the boar and hardened scales to help endure the attack, and the combination even sealed my flesh around its teeth, and the scales seemed to grow around the monster's snout. Haha, great, now perfect moment for this move. I thought as I start to siphon off its life force, sucking it dry of everything its body held. I only stopped when the husk of the creature was loosely attached to my body and flapped like a leaf in the breeze. Life force of the creature, Killer Panther, rank 2 has been absorbed. Now granting stat points. STR 3. 6 VIT 8.5. 10.5 SPD 10. 13 HP 400. 500 stamina 420. 520. Oh well, what a lovely gift this was. What a way to repay me for the mistake of trying to drag me away to eat me. With a new way to get stronger in mind, I look at the others with a ravenous glare flashing in my eyes. Prepare yourselves, little kitties, I'm hungry. Chapter 25. Secrets revealed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I look at all of the enemies and see that there are at least 5 attacking us, but I can also smell 4 others in hiding and then one really big one off in the distance. I figure that the big one is the King Panther that Master is fighting, so I focus on the ones that are trying to stare me down. I can sense that the hunger is building within me again as drool starts to leak from my snout. System, can I transform a part of my body yet? I ask in my head as I try and figure out what would be the best option for handling so many monsters. Error, user has not consumed enough DNA. Shit, okay, so that plan is still out, but I can still use this as a training opportunity for my skills. If I use it right, I could potentially just start tanking the hits and return the damage somehow, or I could use Spatial Bullet to try and hit multiple targets at once. I end up deciding to try using pack mentality, but nothing happened. I tried focusing on how I trusted the others to watch my back and watch over my body, but the skill still did not activate. Seeing as how I didn't have time to waste, I gave up on that and instead used Static Hide, and added that to the combo of Vitality of the Boar and Hardened Scales, which resulted in my scales turning a light blue as arcs of static electricity zapped between them, and I could feel a rush of energy in my body, almost like I was weightless, and I had the sudden urge to run as fast as I could. Condition has been met. The skill, Synthesis, has been unlocked. The skills, Static Hide, Vitality of the Boar, and Hardened Scales, have been combined to create the new skill, Electric Scales of Vitality. Use of Synthesis, used automatically. Uses of skill, Synthesis, has decreased by 1. Uses left, 1/2, for the remainder of the day. well looky here, this was something I didn't think I would get. I was just trying to be awesome for a little bit. But the urge to run was almost overwhelming, so I put the thoughts aside and just ran towards the panthers, and in a flash of blue I slammed into a tree. After opening my eyes after a quick second, I look behind me and see that in fact I had ran through two of the panthers, causing an instant shower of blood and gore to rain down on us. Holy hell Vexus, what was that? I look back at the sound of Desmaro's voice and just see him under a stone roof that Stony had erected to shield from the downpour. To be honest, I just tried to be awesome for a second and overwhelmed them quickly. By the way, where are the other panthers? Looking around, I couldn't see any more panthers. I did however get a whiff of an overwhelming ammonia smell. Man, as soon as you up and disappeared, two of the panthers just poofed, and then I see you smacking full body into a tree. The others ran away instantly, but bad news is that it was in the direction of Master. Damn it, okay you guys wait here, get healed up, I will go towards Master and see if I can help out. I rush over to Lizaria and place my forehead against her arm, giving her a quick top up. I know how you are and I'm guessing you're at your limit, so here is a quick refill of magic, don't worry about me, I got it handled. I run off afterwards, but not before I catch the redness that covers her face. As I run towards the area the Master was supposed to be in, I start to feel powerful tremors and can even see the trees shaking around me. I get closer and can see huge holes in the earth and trees uprooted and just overall destruction that increases the closer I get to the sounds of fighting. I finally get to the epicenter and can see Master in his human form fighting a massive black panther with a white stripe down its spine and a red mane around its neck. I could also see what looks like the bodies of the normal panthers littering the area. The bodies were in various forms of death, some being burned while others had parts of their bodies missing from what looked like some form of impact. I could only stand there and watch as these two powerhouses fought, but I caught few exchanges between the two that were spoken in between the impact sounds. Lucan, you useless bastard, what are you plotting now? You were at the Master's meeting, you know we do not plan on helping in this invasion. Shut your mouth, Paunius, we both know if we do not do something this world will be destroyed by the Shadow Eaters. Even the newborns are powerful now, we need to get to the bottom of how they are acquiring this new power. You utter fool, if only you had agreed to our demands we would have let you in on the secret. We the remaining Masters have struck a deal with the progenitors, we grant their newborns power and in exchange we can retain our rule after the world ends. We only need to deal with you and your disciples and the path will be cleared. My heart dropped at those words. Granted, I did not know who the remaining Masters were exactly, but if they are all as powerful as Master Lucan, then the thought of that power combining with the frightening abilities of the Shadow Eaters sent my mind into a tailspin. All I could think about was the horror that would spread across this whole world that I just barely started to explore. I dropped onto the ground as my body started to give up in fear. Condition has been met, the skill, terror resistance, has been granted. After I get that notification I feel slightly less afraid of what is in store for this world and I can focus on the battle in front of me a little easier. The thoughts of terror still were swimming in my head, but it was easier to look past them for a moment. Without thought I turn back around and run towards the others, racing as fast as I can, with the only thought being that if I ran away fast enough the horrifying thoughts would be left behind. Left behind where two Masters of unimaginable power were having a chat while displaying earth-shattering ability. As I near the cave I can smell fresh blood covering the area. Scanning the area I can see that there are now small rodent-like creatures scurrying around and scavenging from the dead bodies, as some are picked up by a flying vulture-looking bird and eaten in midair. I ignore all the bodies as I could not even think of eating right now and instead walk into the cave to check on the others. I can see Desmaros still on guard duty, and behind him was a limping Stony that was focused on channeling magic into the walls of the cave to strengthen and shape the cave into a normal-looking large room. Lizaria is on a bed of furs that were brought and piled enough to provide some comfort to the sleeper. Desmaros, how are things going? Was there another attack? Nah, so far so good, no more enemies, so I told Lizaria to rest and I guess Stony got bored so he said he was gonna turn the cave into a house. He laughs while looking at the struggling Stony that I could see was starting to waver in his focus as his magic was running on empty. I laugh and walk up to him. Hey Stony, how's it going, buddy? I know you're wanting to help, but don't force yourself, man, okay? Just take it easy. Plus, what would happen if Lizaria woke up and you were overexerting yourself? With those words he instantly stopped and shot a glance over to the sleeping body of Lizaria. With a sheepish grin and a slight blush he nodded. Yeah, I guess you're right, I shouldn't overdo it and risk wasting the time she took to help me. Oh, I see what's going on here, haha, this is so cute. I couldn't help but think as I see Stony keep glancing over at her. I look over at Desmorose to see how he feels about this, and I smile wide as I see him frowning. Looks like he is taking his big brother duty a bit too seriously. As I was enjoying this scene, I get a ache in my head stemming from my left ear. Little one, can you hear me? Test, test, test. Looking around, I was shocked at the voice of my sin, but after noticing that I couldn't see it, I realized it was just in my head. Yes, ancestor, I can hear you. How are you? I am just fine, no need to worry. I was just testing out the sigil to see if it was applied correctly. I also wanted to remind you that the incoming test is to arrive shortly and that you need to prepare. Damn, ancestor, please can you postpone the test? My master is currently fighting another master from this world and we just started regrouping from an outside forces attack. I could hear a chuckle from the other side of the spiritual connection that sounded faintly feminine. No, you will fight or you will die, and I will find another vessel for my power. Goodbye and good luck, little one. I can feel a faint buzzing go off as the connection ends. Great, I knew it wouldn't work, but I had to ask, no harm in it. I look back at the others. Okay, I just received a message from my sin. It said that it is going to send me a test, and if it's anything like the last test, it'll be in the form of a wave of monsters. I will be gone for some time because this is a life or death kind of test and I do not want to involve you guys. It's too risky considering I have no idea what is coming. Stony and Desmorose nod their head. We don't want to risk it either. I'm sorry, but right now I don't really trust you fully just yet, and Lizaria is still asleep, so I have to watch over her. Desmorose says before turning back to resume his guard duty. It hurt to hear him say that, but it was reasonable considering what he's seen me do. I feel the same, and I also need to watch over Lizaria. Stony says with yet another sheepish smile while looking at her sleeping. I could half-heartedly smile at this, but in my head I could only think of how it was starting to lose its cute factor and start having more of a stalker vibe. Disregarding that, I shake my head and walk out of the cave, and using detection I found a group of 10 monsters heading in my direction from my left, and then all of a sudden they stop in the middle of an open field, almost like they were waiting on me. Well, if they are going to be nice and wait, might as well not keep them waiting too much longer. Terror resistance, 1%. User is able to handle extreme levels of terror. Synthesis. LVL 0/1/10. User can combine similar material for the creation of a higher tiered material. Electric scales of vitality, LVL 0/1/10. The user gains a temporary form utilizing electricity, harden the scales and energize the body's overall function. Grants buffs to multiple stats. Warning: overuse will result in extreme fatigue. Chapter 26. Second test. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the middle of a clearing stood 10 monsters. All of them had the shape of large red-furred apes, except for 2. One of them was a big silver-furred ape that stood above the rest with a crude club and patchwork leather covering its torso. The other was a slightly shorter black ape with a broken greatsword that when held by the apes looked like a short sword. Monster POV. The big silver ape looks around and with a sigh it looks down and shakes its head. The oracle said one of the gods chosen was to be here shortly. We are the ones whose duty is to test if it is truly worthy of the power. Men get into position and start to lay down the traps. The others get to work quickly, and within minutes the clearing was made into a space covered in various traps. Some were pitfalls that were made quickly with earth magic, and some were just simple vine traps that were meant to hinder and contain. Good lads, good. Son, get ready. I have a feeling we have been found out already. I can feel the eyes of the chosen looking at us. The silver ape states and looks directly towards a tree big enough to look over the area with a clear view of its surroundings. Father, Please, this is to be my first fight. Let me take charge of the men and fight in your stead. The black ape speaks up, looking with a worried look at his father. I know you have been to see the healer quite a lot recently. I forced the healer to tell me what's wrong with you. We both know this could very well be your last outing. The father looks down at his son and with a smile laughs out loud and boasts. Huh, boy, let me remind you, I am the king around here. Even the world masters bow to my strength. I cannot nor will not cower and flee from a fight. If I die here, then to die by the chosen of a god is a death worthy of entrance into the halls of the afterlife. The father and son laugh together for a brief moment before the others join in and share a bonding moment before the battle begins. Vex's POV, on the way to the clearing after, this tree would be best to climb up and see the surroundings. It would be best to strategize when I get a clear view of who it is that I'm supposed to be fighting against. After climbing the tree and trying to stay hidden, I could see that it was a bunch of red apes with a huge silver one and a slightly smaller one in the lead. I also saw that they had actually made the clearing into a minefield of various traps. Looks like this isn't going to be easy. Shit, did that big one just spot me? It looked directly over at me. Well, time to start this show. I jumped down and heard for a short bit a loud roar of laughter. Since this is a jolly event, might as well take advantage and perhaps talk to M before we start the fighting. I walk out of the cover of the forest, and upon seeing me the laughter dies down and an air of seriousness covers the field. Hey guys, what happened to the jolly atmosphere? Why so serious all of a sudden? I ask with a smirk on my face. I got a message from my sin that you guys are here to fight me, am I right? A look of confusion crosses their faces. What do you mean, a sin? We had received word from the esteemed oracle of our village that a god's chosen would be here and that we were needed in order to test it. The black ape stepped forward and announced with a chest puffed with pride. The silver one grabs the black one's shoulder and pulls back before speaking. Son, listen, this dragon youngling is oozing with power, and in terms of strength even you would be thrashed. I can sense that it has even grown stronger than what the oracle predicted. We have to be careful and watch each other's back and use teamwork for this fight. Seeing as how talking would be pointless, I shoot out a spatial bullet towards the apes. I of course miss due to how slow it is, but I could tell that it has a suction effect. Saving that knowledge for the future, I activate my electric scales of vitality, and using the flash of speed I charge into the enemy group. The spatial bullet was dodged easily, but I used that as a quick second cover for my flash run that ended in my foot being lodged in the chest of one of the apes. Me and the ape both stared into each other's eyes with non-belief as we both looked down to see my broken foot impaling the right side of his chest. I looked up and could see the life slowly fading as his eyes lost its light, and with a thud the lifeless body fell down onto the ground. I couldn't move, not because of the pain rocketing up from my foot, but because I had just watched the life fade from the body of an intelligent being. Shaking my head to clear it, I jumped back from the body just as a huge club swung from my side, narrowly missing my face. I couldn't run anymore because of my foot. Luckily the pain was easily bearable with the maxing out of my skill, pain tolerance. But even then I was still unable to move except for short hops, using the way I walked with 3 legs as a reference. That was able to save me for a few moments until I lost sight of the black one, only to feel a crack and see splinters shower over me as I turned to see the same ape appear out of the shade of a tree, and using insane strength it broke said tree and slammed it against my body. I was thrown through the air all the way to the other side of the clearing with just that one hit. The pain was nearing the limit of my skill as my body racked up the injuries. I tried to think of what I could do in this moment, but nothing seemed to be the best for this situation, so I just relied on a move I would only use when it's just myself. I went back to the beginning and spewed out smoke breath until the clearing was nothing but my smoke, and using detection, I was able to see where the enemies were. So using that information I used quick step to rapidly approach through the fog, and when I was in range I used shadow strike to inflict damage on the enemies, and before long I could see the silhouettes and hear the sounds of coughing as my smoke secondary effect was starting to act. I then heard a cough and a loud yell. Men, this smoke is poisonous, cover your faces, and for the love of God somebody cast wind magic. Next I felt a breeze of wind building up and it drew in the smoke. I saw a clear view of one of the apes with a large wind orb swirling in circles in its palm start to fill up with my smoke before it sent it hurtling at me. It picked up insane speed to the point I couldn't dodge it and was smacked right in the center of my body, and an explosion of wind magic and my own smoke rammed into my body. I was barely able to open my eyes from that attack before I saw a silver foot land in front of my eyes and a voice speak above my head. Looks like the chosen one isn't as powerful as we thought, boys. Looks like we are going to be having some dragon for dinner tonight. Ahahaha, load it up fellas, let's go. I heard as two black furry hands wrapped around my legs and started to drag me across the field. Stop right there, King Gibbon, that is my disciple. Those words filled my heart with relief as a loud bang filled the air and a powerful gust of wind followed by a tremor broke me free of the grip and sent me tumbling towards the direction of the voice. Who is it that dares lay claim to King Gibbon's prize? The black ape stepped forward and spoke loudly. We were duty-bound to fight against this so-called chosen one and have prevailed. Our prize is this dragon's flesh for our food. Out of the forest steps Master Lucan, who quickly bows. King Gibbon, this dragon is my disciple. I have chosen him to be a part of a special squad that will fight against the upcoming Shadow Eater invasion. Please, King, will you overlook what has happened today and grant him a reprieve on my behalf? The king looks at me and back at Lucan for a while before a huge sigh escapes its mouth. Damn it, Lucan, you know that we have to listen to the oracle or else bad things start to happen. Even if it's you that makes this request, I just can't do it. I may be the king, but even I have a higher power to answer to. I know, Gibbon, but listen, I have information that claims that the other masters are plotting alongside the Shadow Eaters to destroy the world in order to keep ruling after the invasion is over. Who knows how deep or how expansive this plan has gone? If I'm not mistaken, your oracle is a close relative to one of the masters, right? Yes, Master Junbei, the master of the earth, is the close cousin to our oracle. They supposedly grew up together, and trained alongside other potential masters and powerful warriors. But this still does not give me enough to go on to even suspect that our oracle is plotting against us all, nor does this have anything to do with the Chosen One's test. The whole time they were talking I was slowly absorbing the ambient magic from the air to slowly repair my body. I could feel a burning coming from my foot which was slowly getting filled with magic. I could barely focus on the conversation at hand until the last few sentences. Master Lucan, my father has given you his reply. We will be taking this young dragon's life and use its flesh for our strength and nourishment, as is the way of our clan, so your only option is to obey or die. Oh shit, well, this isn't going to go over very well. Next thing I knew, I feel a powerful fireball emerge from the palm of one of the red apes and shoot it towards Lucan. He saw it coming and in a split second and a flawless flow almost resembling a dance he swung with the fireball, and instead of getting hit he twirled and sent the fireball returning back towards the ape, killing it with its own magic. Lucan, you dare to kill my men? Ugh, damn it, I will give you one final chance, please reconsider. I will not ask again, step aside and I will forget this ever happened and you will remain friends to the Earthbound Kingdom. I'm sorry, old friend, but the future of our world may very well depend on that young dragon. I will sacrifice everything to ensure his survival and the survival of our world, even if that sacrifice is the peace between us. With a sad look in his eyes, Lucan unleashes a torrent of water from his surroundings towards the apes, but with a flick of his wrist he erects an ice wall, and as quickly as he could he snatched me up and started running from the area. He looked down at me and with a sad smile he spoke. I really hope you're worth this, kid. Chapter 27. Digging for answers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The whole trip from being rescued by Master until we arrived at the cave entrance was dead silent. No words were spoken as I was occupied by the mending of my injuries and by the fact that Master had just announced his friendship with a king. As we entered the cave, the three that remained behind was instantly alert and bombarded us with questions. Where were you two? Why does Vexus look so beat up? Is everyone okay? Things like that were repeated in one form or another as they saw the turmoil in Master's eyes and the pain in mine. O.org. Listen, I have decided that from now on you are all accepted as my true disciples. There will be no competition for the only spot any longer as I had planned, but due to some unforeseen events that have quite frankly shaken me to my core, I will now train all of you to be equals. I will teach each of you not only to become more powerful and unlock more advanced skills, but we must also awaken your talents as a Sin descendant. I know that it is a harsh ideal for some of you. Master says this while looking at Lizaria. But we have to utilize every means of power available to us. I received terrifying news that the other masters have allied with the Shadow Eaters and have actually exchanged their powers for the chance to rule after the Shadow Eaters destroy our world. The four of us look at each other in confusion and slight fear. I of course knew what Master was talking about, but I did not want the others to find out from me, so I just feigned emotion. I knew that the Panther and Master knew I was there. There is no way they couldn't have, which means that even knowing his disciple was their master still let the Panther continue revealing his plans. I look over at Master Lucan and I give him a slight nod which he shortly returns, which confirmed what I thought. Master, I know the others have questions and I do too. For instance, what was that creature that you fought against? He looked at me with clear frustration in his eyes as his jaw clenches before he calms a little and speaks. What I am about to say cannot leave this group, do you understand? He gives each of us a stern look and makes sure to get a response from each of us before continuing. That was no monster, instead it was the master of the wild Pontius. He has power over the wild creatures and even has recently showed signs of progressing towards controlling rank 1 and above monsters. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt and I know this is common knowledge to you guys, but can someone inform me on why there are rankings to monsters? I ask with clear confusion written on my face. What? Are you serious? This is basic knowledge, Vexus. Where were you raised? Under a rock. Desmorose, being the usual outspoken one, speaks up. Lizaria, I can see, is still battling with the previous thing Master said about sin. Stony, on the other hand, is trying to pay attention to what he's saying but is starting to get distracted by something. It kind of looks like he's getting pulled in a direction as a sudden small twitch on the left side of his body would pull him that way, but he would correct his body and try to act like it didn't happen. Oh, that's right, you all do not know that Vexus is actually the son of the Chief of Pride's son Solus. He and his brother Silas were among the first to become full-blooded dragons after unlocking their dormant bloodlines. It happened with the help of your fathers Desmorose and Lizaria. If it wasn't for them, most likely Vexus would just be born as a run-of-the-mill lizard man. He also unfortunately was hatched prematurely due to a monster running off with his egg. He was able to survive but had suffered a stop in his natural growth. He is the runt of his siblings. That news was a punch in the stomach for me to have that reality come crashing back to me. The looks on the others' faces were of pity, which I hated most of all. Who were they to pity me? I did not need pity, I just started to trust these people a little, which even as a human I did not do lightly. But knowing that encountering the wrong enemy could end your life quickly in this world had opened my eyes to the prospect. But good news is that shortly after, as the torrent of pain and suffering that came from remembering all the torment that I suffered through was threatening to spill over, I felt 2 warm arms surround my neck and a sweet intoxicating smell filled my head. Vexus, I didn't know. I'm so sorry you had to go through all that. I was pleasantly surprised with her doing this. I also noticed that the more she held me, the less I felt anger and frustration. Could this be the effects of lust? This could be a very powerful tool for her to use in the future, but for now I am fully immersed in her being so close. That is until Stony intervenes. Lizaria, get away from him, you can't use your ability like that. What if he loses control again? Stony, quiet. If anybody needs this right now, it's the guy who went out of his way to do multiple things for us. But listen here, Vexy, I'll let this pass this one time, but don't get any ideas about my cousin, got it? I opened my eyes and stared at them in a haze until my mind broke free and cleared. I realized that I was under a hypnosis ability. I jumped out of her arms and shook my head to clear away the remnants of that fog that consumed my mind. Lizaria, was that your sin? That is powerful. Even my mind was affected. The skill, mental fortitude, has been upgraded to mental fortress, due to being under the effects of a powerful hypnosis ability. At least I gained something out of it, well besides the touch of such a beautiful girl anyways. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I still can't control it sometimes, especially when my emotions are high. I just felt bad for you, and the thought that you were forced to deal with a horrible hatching and then to be forced into being the runt of your family must have been horrible. Yes, it was, but enough of this. It's better if we forget my past happened just like I did and resume the questions, okay? Now, Master, ranks of monsters, if you please. Ignoring the others, I turn to Master and try and force all the emotions that were rising back into the bottle they escaped from and back onto the shelf, locked behind a solid 10 feet steel door vault like they should be. Ahem, yes, well, ranks are given to monsters who have been mutated by the ambient mana in our world. Every creature is born with nothing but their flesh and bones, but as time passes the mana seeps in, and given the right conditions it can be utilized by people to cast abilities and spells. But if the ambient mana seeps in and it does not properly merge with the body, it can instead corrupt and eventually destroy the host, but not before that corrupted thing wreaks havoc on everyone and everything it sees. Ranks go from 0 to 5, 0 being creatures who are either newborn or have been altered through some means to naturally reject magic, like the humans' domesticated animals. Then from there it's just a matter of how corrupted has it become. Which is easily told by the level of mana it emits, as well as physical signs which differ between species. Wow, now that's something new to me. I didn't know the magic in the air could have such an effect. I just thought that the ranked beasts were just powerful monsters born that way. I was actually loving this, to think that in this world there's a whole ranking system like this. That obviously means that there are hunting guilds or adventures guilds. Haha, yes, after I finish this training my next goal is to join an adventures guild and fulfill the dream I long had as a human. Okay, so with that answered, I need to know what exactly are the Shadow Eaters. And what can we do to prepare? I ask this for the sake of knowledge. I already plan on becoming the strongest I can, but to better prepare and focus on a strategy of training beforehand would be a good path to follow. The Shadow Eaters are a race of magically mutated creatures that were rumored to have been created along with the creation of humans and various other races. Legends have been passed down for as long as 10,000 years ago about invasions of black-furred creatures that control darkness and consume the world like a plague unless stopped by strong individuals who face off against the leaders of that invasion. They have succeeded numerous times but somehow always leave enough of the population to rebuild and grow back to a certain total stage of development as a world before they attack again, and each time they succeed it strengthens the next wave. Children, listen, these beings, whatever their true forms are here for one reason that is plain to see. They are here as harvesters of this world. Mental Fortress, 1%. Able to negate mental attacks and severely lowers the chance of mental abilities targeting the user. Chapter 28. The warning: you are listening at novelfull.audio. I was lost in thought at what Master had told us. I kept turning back to the time when I was utterly useless in the fight with the Shadow Eater. Granted, I was still very weak, but the thought that what Dad faced was just a weak one was a very scary concept to me. Vex, have you been paying attention? We need to leave. Master snaps my mind out of deep thought as he shakes my body. I finally realize while looking around that the others are starting to pack up what we gathered in the last few days being here. Master, what are we doing? Why are we leaving? If you had paid attention you would know. We are leaving because 1. This place is now pretty much destroyed and a death trap for us if someone overpowers me. And 2. We still need to get to the actual training ground. He gets up and walks away to help with the packing. I follow suit and go over to help Stony, hoping to mend the damage I did. Hey Stony, do you need help with anything? He looks up at me and sighs. Yes, sure, if you can just help roll the furs up into a bundle that'd be great. Other than that I just need to revert the cave back to its natural look to help cover up that we were here. I nod and start working on the bundle as he starts turning the house.cave back into the natural cave we stumbled upon. I was really impressed with how hard he worked given what he had to go through recently. It made me think that if we train hard enough there could be a very good chance of us holding out against this invasion. After we finished packing the bundles of fur and the rest of the meat that thankfully was dried out to preserve it, we all left the cave. We started heading west from there, following the direction that Master was taking us. Days passed this way between walking and staying alert for enemies during the day and at night resting in what shelter we could find while trading off on guard duty. By the 10th day we had walked for so long that it was hard to keep going. Master, can we please take a day to rest our feet? For me personally, my muscles could use the break. I asked as I stumbled thanks to one of my legs buckling from the extended strain. He looks back at us and after a few moments he sighs. Fine, we can relax for the day, but after this we have to keep going until we are there. No more breaks after this, and if need be I will carry you one by one until we arrive. I understand that I am overworking you guys right now, but this is important. We have to get to the training grounds as fast as possible, especially now that the other masters are working with the Shadow Eaters. A collective shiver races through us as the thought of the pure power that each master is capable of unleashing, and now that they are working with the Shadow Eaters it's going to be even more terrifying. We all just sit in silence around a small fire that Desmorose made to keep away the annoying insects that surrounded us the past few days. I could see that the others were thinking the same thing as me. I have to get stronger was written clearly across their faces. The day passed by with silence and the night was filled with the sounds of forest life. Bugs buzzing around our heads, wildlife rustling through the underbrush, and far off in the distance roars as a predator caught its prey. We just huddled closer to the fire and shortly we all drifted off to sleep except Master, who kept a vigilant watch over us. We woke up the next day to a freshly killed snake monster. Master was off to the side wiping blood off a blade that vanished quickly into thin air. I decided that instead of forcing us to hurry up and get there, I will be making each day a new lesson for you. Today, for example, will be the proper way to harvest crystal hearts from any monster ranked 1 and above. He summoned a small knife that glinted as the sun flashed onto its blade. He then stabbed a hole right into the throat of the snake, and after making a small incision he put down the knife and started peeling away the skin. Snake creatures, ranked or otherwise, are a good source of food. So cut it like this and peel away until there's nothing left but the flesh, but be careful of rupturing the intestines and anything dealing with shit, as it can completely ruin the meat. He shows us the right way to harvest the meat and even showed us that by using the snake's skin, as long as it wasn't damaged too badly, it could serve as a fluid container. Aha, this is what I was looking for. He pulls from the carcass a small heart that upon closer look it had a pale glowing shard embedded in it. The tiny shard you see is what is known as a rank 1 crystal heart. This snake appears to have only recently ranked up, as you can see by the pale color of the shard. The closer it is to ranking up, the brighter the shard is, as well as a different color that determines what element the creature can unleash. Fortunate for me that this snake was just now ranking up and had not acquired an element, or else it would have been a bit more dangerous. I looked at this crystal and all I could think about was how hungry I was all of a sudden. The glow of the crystal was like a dinner bell for my stomach. Master, can I eat that? That question got a serious look from Master and looks of shock from the others. Vexus, this crystal heart contains the power of a monster. It's very valuable. I only showed you this because in the future this is how you're most likely going to secure funds. This is not food for you to just eat. I was a bit disappointed by being rejected, but I could always just go hunt later on and eat my fill, so I let it go. Master, would it be okay if I go hunting? I am starting to feel hungry. I could see flashes of fear from the others. Looks like they aren't going to get over what happened anytime soon. Master looks at me and then towards the jungle and closes his eyes for a few seconds before opening them and looking back at me with a serious tone. Fine, but listen well, there is a powerful signal coming from the west, so you are only permitted to hunt in the east. There should only be a few rank 1s, so I'm sure you can handle yourself. He waves me off and I bolt into the surrounding forest. I instantly cast my detection skill and feel a large boost in how far I can cast it. I can see the small rank 0 rabbits and boars sleeping in dugout burrows and trees. I can see owls and other birds of prey flying around and snatching up the small rodents that scurry around. Then after a few minutes my detection catches the signal of a rank 1 hornet that emerged from a huge hive-like cocoon attached to a huge oak. It hovered for a few minutes but then shot towards my direction. Looks like this one detected me as well. Looks like today's the day to try roasted insect. I jumped down and rushed towards the insect. I can see it getting closer and buzzing through the trees, dodging around the trees with a dancer's grace and picking up speed all the while. I quickly duck as a giant stinger flies over my head, followed by a brown and green body with what look like 2 giant scythes for arms and 2 smaller arms that have 3 digits at the end. I jump to the side and barely dodge a swipe from one of the scythes. In return I shoot out a smoke blast to try and disorientate the insect, hoping that smoke still affects rank 1 and above insects. It did, but not in the way I had hoped. Instead what happened was a gust of wind sliced through the smoke as the insect slashed outward and catching me off guard. The wind slice was able to wound me and even sliced into one of my legs. I yelled out in pain, using my buff skill to help me. I had underestimated this creature since I thought it was just an insect. I shoot out another blast, and with that giving me cover I dash forward and use Shadow Strike to hit it from its blind spot. I felt my claws hit something, but they didn't dig in but instead bounced off with a metallic ding following. Jumping back in time to dodge another wind slice, I see 4 claw marks on the insect's body, but it looks only like small scratches. Damn, is this insect's carapace really this tough? The thought never crossed my mind, but now faced with this I slowly widen the distance between us as the hornet hovers there just staring at me. I take this time to summon up the feeling of using ice magic from before. But it looks like all that I could produce was a small piece of ice, but using that I just started making as much ice as possible until the hornet rushed at me again. I created a smoke screen using smoke breath and dodged to the side while continuing to make ice. After a few minutes of repeating this I feel my control over ice getting better as slowly the ice gets bigger and bigger. I can feel the surrounding temperature slowly dropping and I can see the hornet's movements getting slower the closer it gets to the ice. Thank God for how vengeful a hornet is. I thought as I start taking advantage over it and inflict more and more marks using Shadow Strike. I eventually start to cut through the carapace as a ding goes off telling me that my Shadow Strike had leveled up. After a few more strikes I finally kill it and start to cut it open. Right there I find the crystal heart and put it to the side as I use my breath to cook the meat. The feeling of hunger overshadows the reality of me eating a bug, but the satisfaction of eating while being so hungry was amazing. I devoured the corpse, relishing the meal, and as expected shortly afterwards the system popped up, Hornet Warrior, consumed auto-assimilating. Error: the user has an incorrect body makeup to utilize skills of Hornet Warrior, DNA stored for later use. Well, hell, that sucks, but it makes sense. I just wish that I could use the Chimera skill already. I would have liked to combine my scales with that metal toughness of its carapace. But pushing aside the failure, I go ahead and hunt some of the rank 0 creatures that were around here and decide to bring them back for the others. I return only to see the others gathered around a rotting corpse. Master, isn't this? Yes, Lizaria, this is an undead. These things shouldn't have been around this area, as the pact with the necromancer is still in effect for at least another few decades. I walked up to them and got a good look at the body. It was a humanoid whose flesh was rotting away, its eyes pale and colorless, teeth and hair barely hanging on. What the hell is this? That is disgusting. I say as I can feel the hornet meat starting to fight to escape back out. I start to gag as the horrid stench started to get thicker and thicker the closer I got. Before I got to close I feel a hand stop me, and turning around I see Master shaking his head at me. Don't get too close. We all were surprised by this as it was dropped off by a huge bone vulture flying by. This is a warning that we are getting too close to the undead territory. Detection 45. 55% smoke blast 6. 9 electric scales of vitality 2. 3 Shadow Strike 5. 3 Shadow Strike LVL 0. 1. Increase in damage. Smoke Breath 2. 5 Ice Magic Comprehension 10. 30%. Chapter 29. The Undead Rises. You are listening at novelfull.audio. We all were gathered around the body of the undead. We were waiting for the thing to get up and attack us, but after half an hour nothing happened. I eventually got up and inched closer, suffering from the overwhelming stench that got stronger with every step, until I was looking down at it. Master, if this is a warning, shouldn't we turn back and find another way to the training ground? I asked, studying the corpse. No, unfortunately the training grounds are well known by the other masters and their disciples. I am taking us to my secret grounds that I have kept hidden even from the others in case of a situation like this. I had hoped that it would be a useless endeavor on my part. I tried hard to trust the others, but in the end I was proven right. I looked away from the corpse and saw that Master was walking towards me with a look of sadness from being betrayed by the other masters. He walked up to me and in a flash sent down a pillar of fire onto the corpse, burning it away. It was a good thing too, as I turned I seen a grotesque and deformed clawed hand reaching for me. Now all that was left was me standing in shock at how close I was to being hurt or worse, and the horrid smell that was the burning body. The smell got so much worse that I couldn't handle it anymore and ran off to go fertilize the forest floor. Everybody listen up, as Vexus just demonstrated, you never, ever turn your back on an undead. They are literally the masters of playing dead. They can wait forever in any weather, any condition, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They have a few weaknesses, like fire for example, or if you're lucky to have a priest in your party, any and all holy or healing type spells. They survive off of eating flesh, but this can also be their downfall as they cannot control themselves when baited, unless there is a higher functioning leader commanding them. Any questions? I finished wiping my mouth and after drinking some water I ask. I do. What do you mean by higher functioning leader? Isn't that the necromancer that you talked about earlier? Or are you saying that there are other types of undead around here that serve that purpose? The others agreed and nodded at my questions. It looked like they were also wondering this but were too nervous to find out the answer. I of course already knew what Lucan was going to say, but these three were raised in a village that was essentially hazard-free. There was no way they would ever be subjected to this level of danger. Hell, the only reason I know is because of the stuff from the old world that I was so into. But I snapped back from my thoughts as Master started speaking again. Yes, there is a basic hierarchy for the undead around here that is thanks to the necromancer, of course, otherwise the undead would just swarm over everything and devour every living creature. There are of course what you just seen known as zombies. They can come in any shape and size, usually it's just one body, but as we get closer to the necromancer's home we will see zombies consisting of multiple bodies merged together, which leads me to the next tier, which is the captain class of zombies. These are in charge of groups counting upwards of 1,000 basic zombies depending on their strength. Next are the protectors of his home, which are the flesh golems. These monstrosities are what the necromancer makes whenever a few of his captain zombies do not gain sentience. Then above those are the liches, which have gained sentience and have gained the power over undeath, as well as slowly gaining more power the longer it has been since evolving. I have fought a lich before, but it ended at the cost of several of my cherished teammates and family. He looked down and I caught the sight of a small tear escape and roll down his face at the pain the memory caused. He shook his head, then raised to stare at us with renewed confidence. There are many deadly and overpowering variations to each layer, but for the most part these four types are what we will encounter. I stood there absolutely floored by what he just told me. What the hell? You mean to tell me that just one captain class zombie can command up to 1,000 regular zombies? Doesn't that mean that we are walking towards certain death? Oh, and don't think I didn't catch how you said that we are going to encounter the different types. Does that mean that we are intentionally going towards the necromancer and not away from the things that want to eat us? Are you f***ing insane? I couldn't hold it in as the reality that my master was leading us towards death. Did he give up? What was his purpose in doing this? He said he had a secret training ground, but why is it near the necromancer who apparently has an army that rivaled the armies of my old world? My mind raced as these thoughts kept going in circles but was immediately stopped short as a slap came across my cheek. It was Lizaria who was looking into my eyes. Hers was filled with determination and I could sense that she was willing to do what needed to be done to grow stronger. "Vexus, how dare you question the master like that? Do you not trust him? He said he is leading us to a training ground to help make us stronger. I need to become as powerful as possible to protect my family and friends back home. The same should be for you, Oswell. We are a part of the same team and the rest of us need you." She spoke with such certainty and even her words had such a commanding yet at the same such a cute tone that all I could do was sit there listening as my mind engraved every word she spoke. If she needed me, then hell, who am I to refuse? The others are capable, but if it's this Lizaria, then I can see myself fighting the armies of the undead with my legs tied. "Lizaria, your power is leaking. Vexus has fallen under your charm. Regain control." Master spoke up, but it sounded so far away as the only thing in my eyes was how I would fight the world for her. "Oh God, I'm so sorry, Vexus, I didn't know, please forgive me." Lizaria runs off with Desmorose and Stony right behind her, but all I felt in the next second was a void appear in my soul as I saw her run away from me. Next, Master appears before me and gives me a bowl filled with a strange-smelling liquid. "Drink this, Vexus, it will help clear away the after-effects of being charmed." As the void was becoming stronger and stronger, I felt myself diving into a whirlpool of depression as the thoughts of her leaving me were becoming too powerful. My eyes were becoming bloodshot as tears rolled down my eyes from the heart-wrenching pain of her leaving took over. After what felt like forever being swallowed in the pits of despair, I had to fight for a breath as Master shoved my head into the bowl and I was forced to drink in some of the liquid. Almost instantly my mind started to clear. "Master. What happened? Why am I crying?" "You had fallen under Lizaria's sin. She had unwittingly released it when she spoke to you just now. We will have to hurry and get to the training ground to help her master her power. I need you to get a hold of yourself and resolve your determination to get stronger, because what lies ahead is situations where I will be unable to help you." I withheld this from the others, but I made a deal with the necromancer shortly after we left the cave. I agreed to help train a new type of soldier that he created, and in return he has given me a place for us to live and train. Finally being freed from the spell, I shook my head to clear away the last remnants of whatever was left behind clouding my thoughts. "Fine, Master, I will keep this from the others, but you have to let me in on what the hell is going on. I am not like the others. I will not blindly follow somebody just because they are stronger than me. Got it? I respect your strength, but you lie to me or keep something from me and you will lose every ounce of respect and trust one gave you." I looked straight into his eyes with a steeled and resolute stare. He stared right back and I could see anger fill his eyes before he quickly breathed out a sigh and placed a hand on my shoulder. "Okay, I can agree to that, but you will not like what I have to say. Also." He squeezed my shoulder so hard that I heard an audible pop and a snap before a burning pain shot down my arm. "Do not ever speak to me like that ever again. Do you understand? I will let this one slide, but I do not care for respect. If need be, I will rule over you with fear. You are a valuable piece to my plan and have the most potential, so do not mistake my niceness as anything but a privilege." The pain kept me from focusing on anything other than his face as he spoke. My mind was in a desperate frenzy thinking of ways to fight back, but finding no paths of escape, I resigned myself to bear the pain and listen. The next thing after he finished, he looked down at my shoulder. "Oh dear, it looks like I was a little too rough. My apologies, I will fix it right up." His arm glowed red for a second as he placed it back onto my shoulder. Another wave of pain more intense than the last shot through me as I hear another pop, and a searing pain that I swear sounded like a steak being cooked was heard. I look over and indeed a seared image of a palm was there covering where his hand was just seconds ago. He leaned down and whispered, "This is a secret, Oswell, little dragon. Your best interest is to keep quiet and do as I tell you." The palm print was visibly disappearing as Master rises up just as a man riding a giant bone vulture landed behind us. Ah, it looks like I arrived just in time to see something quite interesting. Chapter 30. The Discovery of a City. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It looks like you are showing your true colors, Lucan. You might want to take a breather. The man jumped off the vulture and landed in front of us. He had a hood on that showed just his mouth. He had pale skin, but his arms and legs were elongated with longer than normal nails at the end of the fingers. He walked towards Lucan without a care in the world, with an aura of indifference towards what he just saw. Little Wolfie, do I need to remind you of how important a dragon's blood is? And on top of that you bring me a dragon who is a variant who possesses the space element. You need to remember who is working for who. The unknown man then grabs Lucan's throat and lifts him off the ground while looking at me with a smile. Dragon, let me introduce myself. I am known around these parts as the necromancer. I hired this so-called master here to be my army's trainer, as well as my delivery boy. I am currently in need of an army that can fight the Shadow Eaters. However, I uncovered the plot that the other masters are strengthening those vile bastards. He was starting to rattle on while letting Lucan down. By then the others had come back and I could see Lizaria look away from me in embarrassment. I don't know why she was acting like that. I'm the one that was charmed damn near to obsession. But looking back towards the necromancer, it appeared as he was analyzing the others as a notification popped up. User is currently being scanned by another entity. Would user like to block? I decided not to block it only because I did not have enough strength to defend myself if he decided to end me. He scanned all of us, and after staring at me for a few seconds longer than the others, he smiled and took off his hood, revealing a face that was rather shocking. For a necromancer I expected a skeletal or otherwise undead look, maybe some rotting flesh or no hair or damn near anything depicting the usual look of a ruler of undeath. This guy, however, was damn near gorgeous. His face was more of a robust roundish face, his eyes were a piercing deep green, he had a slightly lighter shade of brown hair that was shaggy down to his ears. He also had a beard that showed a tinge of red in the sunlight. Oh, my bad, I apologize for the awkward silence. I was just scanning you all to see who was the best in this group. It looks like Vexus here is the best, while Desmorose is second, with Stony being last place. Lizaria, my dear, it appears you have the sin of lust. I would advise you to keep that power in check while on my land, as some of the higher-leveled beings under my control are susceptible to the sin's power. She only nodded and then started to move behind Desmorose. I couldn't help but wonder what these higher beings were to make him warn her like that. The only things I could think of were the demons called succubus or incubus. I didn't think that the undead had higher mental functions closer to what a mortal creature would have. But nonetheless, the goal in the end was always to unlock and control our sin's power. The necromancer talked with us for a few minutes, with Lucan behind him looking at me every once in a while with a stare that was filled with anger, while the words, "Keep your mouth shut," were being repeated in my head because he was sending it telepathically. I got fed up and decided to try and shut him out of my head, so I sent a short burst of mana through the small connection I was able to sense. The next second Lucan screamed in pain as he grabbed his head and a small amount of blood trickled out of his ears. Ahaha, this dragon has become more intriguing. You should stop messing with him, Lucan. He will be stronger than you given enough training, so I suggest you get on his good side. Or kill him now. With a daring look in his eyes, the necromancer stares down Lucan until our so-called master yelled and started to transform into his wolf form, but this time he merged the two and became a human-wolf hybrid. Holy shit, this guy is a werewolf, was the only thought going through my head as this huge wolf-like monstrosity was taking steps closer and closer towards me in particular. I prepared to fight this beast as the thoughts of him breaking then resetting my shoulder, and also the fact that he fooled me from the beginning, making me think that he was actually wanting to help us, but instead he was just kidnapping us and delivering us to this guy. With those thoughts running through my head, I used my electric scales of vitality buff, and on top of that I activated rage. The werewolf grinned, showing off rows of insanely sharp teeth with drool and foam dripping from its mouth. I charged fearlessly towards it while spewing out a rolling fog to try and cloud his senses. If I knew anything it was that werewolves in the books I read had highly sensitive senses of smell, sight, and hearing. I was able to cover up my movements as the werewolf just stood there. I heard a cough, and smiling I knew my fog was taking effect, so I decided to take the chance and attack. So using Shadow Strike I jumped up and aimed to slash its back, but in the next second I was dangling in the air as a furred and clawed hand was wrapped around my throat, and through the fog came a smiling wolf face right up to mine. In a deep growling voice it speaks. Nice try, Vexus, but I know your tricks, although the charge was new, but you're very predictable, boy. He threw me away and I slammed into a nearby tree, and with a groan I stand up, only to hear the sounds of rapid approaching thuds, and next I open my eyes to see myself several feet above the trees with Lucan staring up at me before crouching down and jumping up towards me and reaching me within seconds. He threw a punch with a slight red glow aimed at my stomach, but I used Smoke Blast to propel myself away to dodge. I could feel the life-threatening power behind that punch. I didn't plan ahead and ended up spinning in circles in the air before crashing into trees far away from the others. I barely was able to stand up through the pain, and a loud voice echoed throughout the area. Vexus, listen to me now, you had better run and hide, because if I find you I will kill you. You little bastard who dares to harm a master has no room to survive in this world. With those words echoing in my ears I used what energy I could muster and bolted through the forest, not even worrying about which direction I was headed as long as it was away from the bastard who betrayed me into believing he was trustworthy. As for the others, I sent a silent apology into the air. Guys, I'm sorry, please forgive me, once I grow strong enough I will come back for you. Several days passed by between me hiding, eating the various rodents or whatever I could find to eat. I eventually found my way to a city with a large farm and fields of different crops outlying it. I neared the gate that was one of four, one at each cardinal direction entering into the city, with a mixture of stone and reinforced wooden walls all around it. It looks like the city was under construction, as multiple carriages passed by me on the road loaded with different construction materials, either cut stone or varying pieces of lumber. As I got closer to the gate I was stopped by a human guard who raised his weapon towards me. Halt, if you are intelligent then state your purpose, otherwise prepare for death. Being scared of my first encounter with an actual human, I was only able to stutter barely audible words. I am a dragon from the V.V.V. Village of Pride. I am new T.T. to the area and ML.L. Lost, please sir, I need help. The guard took a few seconds to give me a once-over, then with a wave the giant iron-studded wooden doors behind him opened up and he let me pass. He bent down and whispered in my ear. It's best you immediately head for Mistress Hilda's House of Runaways. She's known for helping demi-humans and intelligent monsters acclimate and also provides protection. I gave him a confused look, but he only shook his head and pointed towards a small wooden sign at the start of a side alley with small words etched into it. Mistress Hilda's House of Runaways will help any newcomers acclimate, must be demi-human or intelligent monster. Then underneath in bright red capitalized letters were the words, "No humans allowed." I was relieved to see that there was a place for me to go, as I really did not want to struggle to figure out what to do in this city. I started walking down the alleyway, and at the end of the small road was a ramshackle house that was 2-storied but had enough windows to indicate that it was a hotel of sorts. I walk up to the door and, tapping my claws lightly against the door, I knock and wait until I hear a feminine voice shout from within. I swear to God, Alex, I will not repeat myself. I will not go out with you, so leave me alone. The last words were spoken as the door was swung open and a gorgeous woman with a tall but curvy body and shoulder-length black-brownish hair appeared with a glare until she noticed that this Alex or whoever wasn't there, and instead was a grayish-yellow tinted scale dragon with a confused look on his face, and a look of embarrassment quickly covered her face. "Oh God, I'm sorry, I thought you were someone else." "No problem, my name is Vexus and I was told by the guard at the gate that you can help me. This is my first time being in a city." Rage 0. 1 electric scales of vitality 3. 4 rolling fog 5. 6 smoke blast 8. 9/SUSKVM4ZZH new Discord. I'm totally open to new ideas or just to chat. Who knows, maybe you can help me create a better book.